Hi folks, HR Funk here with part 2 of my review and evaluation of the Canik Mete MC9 Prime 9mm semi-automatic pistol. If you missed part 1 of this video, I would encourage you to go back and watch it because in that segment I reviewed all of the features and characteristics of the MC9 Prime, and I'm not going to do any of that in this video. This time around we're going to head off to the range and see how it shoots. And I'm not going to delay that any longer. Let's head out to the range and see how things went. And I'm set up and ready to begin my accuracy and velocity test with the MC9 Prime. And I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently than I normally would with a handgun of this size. I'm going to be conducting this test from a distance of 25 yards. And the reason is because there are other shooters on the other range. You can probably hear them firing over there. And I'm just not able to go over there and do this the way I normally would. So we're going to get an extended accuracy look at the MC9 Prime. I'm going to start out with the first ammunition, which is going to be 124 grain hot munitions, full metal jacket ammunition. This has a rated velocity of 1,050 feet per second. And I'm expecting there to be some velocity loss in this 3.64 inch barrel. I don't know what the barrel length is or the test barrel length is that Hop used to get the velocity rating for this ammunition. But when we consider the final 3/8 or so of this barrel is taken up with the expansion chamber and the integral compensator, and the first inch or so is taken up by the chamber, there's really only about 2 inches, give or take, of rifled bore for this bullet to travel through and for the expanding gases to help accelerate its velocity. So what I'm really hoping is we just don't see extremely low velocities from this ammunition. As long as they're reasonably good for a handgun of this size, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Anyway, let's get on with the accuracy and velocity test. So here we go, folks. One thing I want to mention quick before I start shooting, prior to coming out to the range today, I did mount an optic on the MC9 Prime. What I have here is the Hilux TD3E. I have a complete review on this optic that I put up just a couple of weeks ago, so you can back and take a look at that if you didn't see it. But I have what I think is a pretty good 25-yard zero at this point. I might need to tweak it a little bit one way or the other as I go. So I'm going to be looking mostly at group size, not necessarily the group location on the target, because as I said, I might need just a little bit of an adjustment one way or the other as we go along. So let's see what happens here. First shot, 958.3. Shot number 2, 1013.5. Shot number 3, 1015.4. Shot number 4, 1029.5. And shot number 5, 1013.8. I'll go down and take a look at the group, and also I'll figure out the average velocity for this string later and flash it up on the screen so you'll see what it is as you're watching the video. In terms of group size, those 5 shots with the hot munitions ammo went into about 2 3/4 inches from that distance of 25 yards. So that's not looking bad, but clearly I need to make a windage adjustment. The elevation's not too bad. So I'll give that a little bit of a tweak before I fire the next 5-shot string. Next up is going to be Winchester 115 grain silver tip ammunition. This has a rated velocity of 1,225 feet per second. I've made a windage adjustment to my optic. And also, I've changed the setting for my chronograph, so now I'll be able to tell you the average velocity for the group string when I'm done. Let's see what happens this time around. (1,121 feet per second). (1,144 feet per second). 1,149 feet per second. 1,160 feet per second. And 1,177.5 feet per second for an average velocity of 1150.6. So I don't think that's too bad for that 115 grain load. I've got two more types of ammunition to try, so we'll see how they do. But first, let's go down and have a look at this group. Another respectable group from those 115 grain Winchester silver tips. That group is in under 2 inches. That's about 1.75 inches, whichever way I measure it. So, very nice group. Looks like the MC9 Prime likes that ammunition. Now let's move on to the next one and see how it does. Next up, we have 5 rounds of Corbon 115 grain jacketed hollow points. These have a rated velocity of 1,350 feet per second. We'll see how close we come to that velocity with the MC9 Prime. 1244. 1227. 1238. 1230. 1231 for an average velocity of, I've never seen this before, 12345, 1234.5 feet per second. Again, pretty decent velocity out of this short barrel with the integral compensator. Clearly those shots hit lower on the target with that higher velocity, but we still have a pretty good group there. Those 5 shots are in, looks like about 2¼ inches, so not bad at all accuracy-wise. Now I'll move on to the final ammunition. It's going to be the heaviest bullet that I've tested so far, a 147 grain Nosler match load. Let's see how it does. And as I said, the last load that I'm going to be testing today is this Nosler 147 grain match load. It has a rated velocity of 880 feet per second. Let's see what happens. Wow, is that soft in this pistol. 860.2. 890. 876. 884. And 877 for an average velocity of 877. 877.4 to be exact. Let's go down and look at the group. And of course my target camera died on what turned out to be pretty much the best group of the day. I've got 4 of those 5 shots right there. All of them are 10s basically. This one broke the 10 line. These are all 10s. I've got 1 shot that undoubtedly is my fault that I pulled off here to the right, making the entire group 3¼ inches, but this certainly is human error. That's extremely good accuracy from particularly a compact handgun, but any handgun really. So now it's time to move on and try some more defensive-oriented drills and see how the MC9 Prime does with those. All right, folks, on we go to some defensive drills with the MC9 Prime. First up is going to be controlled pairs from a distance of 5 yards. No problem with all those controlled pairs, keeping them centered in the chest. I pulled 1 shot a little bit low. That's my fault. Now let's move on to some 7-yard failure drills. It's going to be 2 shots to the body and 1 shot to the head in rapid succession. The heat today is just proving to be too much for my target camera, so I had to move it off to the side of the range into the shade because it died again. So you're going to get a little bit different perspective. I went ahead and moved the camera that's aimed at me as well. So hopefully when I edit this all together, it's still going to look okay. But here we go with some failure drills from a distance of 7 yards. Those looked pretty good. Those 7-yard failure drills looked very good. All 6 of the shots to the body are right here in a nice tight group. I've got 2 really good headshots. This one's not quite as good, but it's going to require a fair amount of dental work for our bad guy here. Now let's go back to 15 yards. We'll try 5 shots to the body from that distance. Wow, very nice group from that distance of 15 yards. All 5 of those shots are dead center in the chest, and I can easily cover them with my fist. Now let's go back to 25 yards and see how things go from there. And I'll finish off the defensive drills with 5 shots from 25 yards to the body. Let's see what happens from back here. Not the best group I ever fired from 25 yards, and I'm hitting just a little bit high. All 5 of those shots are in about probably 4 or maybe 5 inches, but still, no problem keeping them on the chest of my bad guy. When I was shooting from back there, I didn't really feel good. You might have noticed I was shooting a little bit slower, and I just didn't feel very stable. So I don't know if the heat's starting to get to me a little bit today. Maybe my cameras aren't the only thing being affected. And before I call it a day, I think I'm going to take a quick run at the swinging plates and see just how much that integral compensator might be able to help. I'm not feeling a lot of recoil reduction, but I'm noticing a little bit, and certainly there was enough to keep the pistol level as I was working my way across the plates. So is the MC9 Prime a tack driver? Let's find out. Of course, this is zeroed at 25 yards, so I have to hold over at this distance. And I held over just a little bit too much on that first shot. In fact, not entirely sure that bullet didn't at least touch the tack. Perfect elevation. That time my windage was just off. Last shot. Is it a tack driver? No, it's not a tack driver. But otherwise, the MC9 Prime did pretty well. Let's go back and have some final thoughts. So, final thoughts on the Canik Mete MC9 Prime. I said at the end of part 1 of this review that I think, considering the feature set of the MC9 Prime and the accessory complement that comes along with it, I think a prospective purchaser gets a lot for their investment with the MC9 Prime, and there was nothing about the performance of the handgun on the range that changed my opinion on that. When we look at the accuracy I was able to achieve with all the different types of ammunition that I was testing, I thought it was very, very good, particularly considering that I was shooting at that distance of 25 yards. The functioning was 100% with both magazines and all those different types of ammunition. The texturing on the grip is some of the best that I've felt, and I thought it really seems to lock the pistol into my grasp. The trigger is not... It's not the Canik trigger that you would associate with something like the rival Darkside or some of the competition-oriented Caniks, but it is certainly a very, very good trigger for a defensive handgun. The integral compensator did not cause velocities to be extremely low. In fact, I thought the velocities we were getting were pretty good. They were about what I would have expected with a handgun of this barrel length with no compensator. And I really have to struggle to try to come up with anything negative to say about the MC9 Prime. Probably the only thing that comes to mind, and this is not a negative so much as it is just an observation, and that is I didn't really notice a lot of reduction in muzzle flip and felt recoil with the integral compensator. Now that's a very subjective statement to make because I did not have a non-compensated pistol side by side to shoot with it, so I could really test it one to the other and see what I thought of the recoil impulse and the muzzle flip. But I'm just making that statement based on a lot of other handguns of this type that I have fired, and I think there was a little reduction in muzzle flip and a little reduction in felt recoil, but not a lot. But if that's the worst thing that I can say about the MC9 Prime, that's still pretty darn good, and I still think anyone who's considering it, if they ultimately purchase the MC9 Prime, is going to be happy with their new handgun. In any case, that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to say thanks again to the folks at Hop Armament for loaning me the MC9 Prime. Again, I'll say without their assistance, this video would not be possible. Also, make sure you stop by my website, hrfunk.com. Check out the news and information page to see all the latest things going on with me and the channel. And go by the products page because a lot of the products I've reviewed have links on that page, and there's information beneath some of those links that'll save you some money if you decide to make a purchase. See you next time, folks. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.